We'll be live. We will be live in 1 minute. 1 minute.
So can we pull them up? Can we pull up FRRC?
Yeah, you go to the Florida
Florida
rights.
rights. So you go
Go
ask
to,
Nita.
no, go to search.
Yeah, I'm like I thought I was in search. That would be my search.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
But the, what comes up?
Well, see what ads put it in there. Let's see. You might have an updated one. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's live now.
Testing, testing. Can everyone hear me okay? Let me try that again. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, that's more better. Thank you, thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Dorvalis. I represent the University of Central Florida. I'm a program manager there with a focus in community engagement. I partner with the FRRC to bring this to you all tonight. And first off, I want to thank FAMU College of Law for allowing us this space to hold this and to be able to keep the residents of District 5 informed about what's going on and to be able to help you all make the right choice. So first off, can we give a round of applause for FAMU College of Law? Secondly, we couldn't put this together without any of these candidates, so can we give a warm round of applause for all of our candidates?
Wonderful.
So what I would like to do is just give you guys a description of what the job description of what the Commissioner of District 5 role should be. Members of the Orlando City Council, or the mayor, who is elected at large, and the 6 city commissioners who are elected from the respective districts, all elected for 4-year terms. The city council is the primary legislative body for the city of Orlando, which means it is the body responsible for creating laws at a local level. The role includes creating, changing policies, city policies and ordinance, setting taxes, and adopting the city budget. The city council also votes on policies governing local elections, such as who is eligible for public office and how people may register and vote. At this time, I'll be passing it over to Marquise.
Thank you, Brad.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Again, Thank you guys for coming out tonight to be a part of this very important conversation. We appreciate each and one of you guys. And so, no further ado, we do want to jump into the conversation, but we just want to set some ground rules just for you all have a nice time here tonight. So one of the things we definitely want to do is just respect each other at all times. I think, just to be fair, this is a live screen, so, our people who we are going to be looking to vote for us, people who are looking to support us, I think we owe them a fair conversation. And then the second room, we just want to do one mic at a time. So if someone is speaking, just give them a room to speak, and we'll allow you to go back as well. Other than that, we had note cards. So if you guys have questions that you would like to answer, please write down your question. We'll have someone come around and pick up those if you have questions. That way we can get those from you. And then not least, again, my name is Marquise McKenzie. I'm the organizing manager for Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. If you guys are not familiar with the organization, we're the group that spearheaded and passed Amendment 4. I always can't say this without mentioning the people who actually voted for Amendment 4 that would change the voting laws in Florida for individuals who had felony convictions. So in Florida for 150 years, if you had a felony conviction, you lost all of your rights for life. And so prior to 2018, again, someone like myself who lost their voting rights before I even had them, I wasn't able to even vote. And so I appreciate everyone that supported the Amendment 4, that voted yes. And so we just continue to try to thrive and have changes in our community. And with that being said, and we also definitely want to acknowledge our currently City Commissioner Carl Burns in the building as well. And so now I definitely want to introduce you guys to two of the greatest moderators in the world, Mrs. Monica May and Pastor McCoy as well to help us lead this conversation.
Realize that we were two of the greatest?
I know you're the greatest.
No, I don't know about that. I am excited to be here because this is something that we've all been waiting for, an opportunity. Look at them taking their pictures already. Look at that. In the place to be tonight. We have an opportunity to share tonight from you all's hearts what it is you want to provide for District 5. And so with that being said, I want to give everybody, starting with Cameron, 30 seconds to give us a little bit about who you are. Don't tell me why you're running. I just want to know about you first. Who are you, Cameron?
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and participating in this event this evening. My name is Cameron Hope, 56 years old. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I graduated from West Orange High School in 1985. I've been in the business community here for about 14 years. I have a tax business in District 5 and District 6. And I'm a resident, and, I think that I'm qualified from the experience and, from the experience and proven leadership. I just think that I'm the perfect candidate for this position.
Thank you very much, Cameron. Miles Moraine.
Thank you. I'm Miles Moraine. I'm from the District 5. I've been doing work here for the past 8 years formally with a nonprofit called Let Your Voice Be Heard. A lot of people may have seen me from protests, but a lot of stuff we do extends beyond that. I've been an advocate for victims of crime. I've been a person who's been pushing for neighborhood-led efforts to help reduce crime. I've also been a big pusher for housing and other proponents, and as the night goes on, I hope to show more and give you a reason why I feel I'm one of the best candidates also. Thank you.
So far, so good at 30 seconds. Thank you very much, Miles. Erica Dunlap.
Good evening. I'm Erica Dunlap. I am a native of District 5. I am a child of God and a daughter of this community, a mother of this community who is raising their daughter in District 5. And I'm happy to be here as a candidate for this position that is very important. Economic growth, of course, affordable housing, very important issues. But more importantly, we have to make sure that we are voting and we are in control of how our district moves forward.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gelsler?
Lawana Gelzer, and I'm grateful to be here before you. Best describe Lawana, civic engagement. I'm all about the community, what's best for the community, public policy. It's a part of me. It's a part of my DNA. I've been in Orlando since 1971 when my family moved to Paramore, and I'm back residing in Paramore. So I'm all about service, community service, and what we can do collectively together.
Thank you, Ms. Rose.
Good evening, everyone. Sharon Rose. I am a Paramore resident. I moved my family into District 5 several years ago. Former City of Orlando employee. I used to work in economic development in the permitting office as well as community redevelopment agency. Currently, some of you all may have seen me. I am the lead coordinator for the Black History Museum in the town of Eatonville, where I am the CRA executive director. We are working on affordable housing and businesses. I run a nonprofit, Change for the Community, where I mentor youth, and I call myself the silent resource connector because when people call needing any kind of assistance, whether it's housing, a job, I'm able to connect them to resources.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison.
Hello, my name is Takesha Ellison. I'm a business mentor and coach. I specialize in credit, wealth, and financial freedom. People come to me to get qualified for homes, get qualified for apartments, get qualified for cars. I'm their go-to person for setting up their business, getting business credit and funding, and I would like to bring some of that into District 5 if I'm elected.
Mr. McCurdy.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Who am I? I'm a father to my 6-year-old daughter, Reagan. I am a native of Orlando, District 5. I am a student of the process, having served as a legislative aide to state senators and as an aide in the City Commission, District 5. I am a leader, having served as a former state representative from 2020 to 2022 for the same constituency. I'm a trustee at the Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church. Most of all, I'm a professional managing small business development for the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority. That's who I am, and I hope to be the next city commissioner for City District 5.
All right, thank you very much. Let's clap it up for our candidates this evening. So we'll start with you, Travaris. How does your current role, the things that you do, relate to running for office, and have you run for office before?
Yes, I have run for office before. As I mentioned, I served as a state house representative for District 41. Doing what I want to also mention was one of the most tumultuous times in Tallahassee with the culture wars, and also during the COVID-19, during the height of COVID-19. So I was responsible for bringing vaccinations. If you remember, those were only offered through from the state at that time. So with the large senior population that we have here, and large population of youth, it was my responsibility to make sure that we provided for the residents here. So I have a record, and I'm proud of that record, and I look to continue to do some of the same things. How does my current role relate to this position? Managing small business development for the 4th largest airport in the country. When we look at a lot of the laws that are coming from Tallahassee currently that are looking to dismantle DEI, is very important at the local level, which I'm happy to have advocated and fought for in Tallahassee to protect what we call home rule, to allow our local municipalities to make the best decisions for the people at home. Now that I fought for that in Tallahassee, I'm able to take advantage of it at City Hall. But that will allow us to make decisions here at home that affect people most. And what I've seen at the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority is a program. It's the local developing business, which allows local projects to be carved out only for local businesses to bid, and they don't have to bid against the larger primes. So when you talk about economic development, especially when we house all of the venues here in District 5, I think that is what my skill set, an additional skill set, not only in addition to my knowledge of the process and me having already governed.
Thank you very much. 1 minute.
Yes, Mr. Hope, same question. Your current involvement in the community, and how will that current involvement benefit you as commissioner if you are elected?
Sure. Like I said before, I've had tax businesses in the community for the past 14 years. I actually started my tax business from just nothing, merely about 15 clients. Now I have over 600 that live in the local community. I believe the skills that I have are teamwork, which is very important. You know, you have to work with your constituents, as well as, you know, City Hall and the City Council. I think that leadership is very important. You have to really stand for something and show people, you know, how passionate you are and what you're willing to, you know, stand up for on different issues, whatever those issues may be. And I think that those are my greatest components, just that leadership and teamwork and the ability to work with people and, tackle issues and get those issues resolved.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Dunlap, why are you interested in serving on the city council in particular?
So I am already at the table for a variety of causes and a variety of organizations. And I feel that my voice is the voice of several people when I go to various board meetings. So my executive leadership presents the opportunity for me to understand the need for smart negotiation, proper communication, and allocating budgetary resources to ensure that programs are successful. And that's why I believe I should be on the city council. I believe that I would be a smart conduit for resources and allocating those resources to our community, making sure that our community is connected to more opportunity.
Ms. Rose, same question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Why are you interested in serving as the city council chair of District 5?
So I have plenty of City of Orlando experience. I have the relationships, the rapport, the education. As a former City of Orlando employee, I've worked with the commissioners and the mayors to get the job done of impact in this community. I run a nonprofit where I mentor youth, so I have the pulse of the community, understanding the needs, being able to talk to people. As the next city commissioner, I have a master's degree in public administration and I have a bachelor's degree in business management. So I get how the private sector and the public sector are not currently working together and we could do a better job. There's a great legacy and rich culture in District 5, and I want to be able to continue that legacy and build upon it with the residents in this community.
Ms. Gelzer, in your opinion, what are some of the challenges that face District 5, and what are some strengths or opportunities?
What's facing District 5 is, of course, gentrification. Currently, we're right in a community that has went from 20,000 people down to 4,500. We're also dealing with, welcome to the environmental injustice issues that we're dealing with here, right down the street, 500 block of Robinson Street was a Superfund site, and for you don't understand, it was $52 million just to clean up that. We call it the Paramore Coffin. It's 2 football fields long, 65 feet down in the ground, 100 feet wide. And so it's concrete, 2 feet. It's a coffin to contain the contamination. But I'll say this, break it down. Plume has already spread to Lake Dot. Why am I qualified for the job? Because you changed the question. So, look,
I'm not going to ask everybody the same question,
okay,
so please just respond.
But the issues that I bring is I've been a business owner for 40 years. I know how to negotiate. I have over 80 employees working for me. I have sub-recipients with grants. I am funded last year, $5 million. I know how to get federal funds. I know how to close that community equity gap, because that's what we're dealing with here. And I know how to work with people on a state, local, and federal level. So I've served on many boards on all levels. So I didn't just show up. I've been doing the work for a long time.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ellison, the question again, in your opinion, what are some of the challenges facing District 5, and what are some strengths or opportunities?
In my opinion, I think there needs to be something done with rent control. These affordable housing are not so affordable when they have to prove that they make 3 times the rent. And if I'm elected, that's something that I want to push and put in motion for something to be done about the rent constantly increasing. So that's something I feel like that's a major concern within District 5 in Orlando.
Same one.
Mr. McCurdy, same question. Some of the challenges that are currently facing District 5, and how do you foresee you being able to handle those challenges?
Well, I think first, some of the challenges are a lack of access and lack of opportunities. And I think that also stems from the lack of outreach or the type of outreach. Perhaps we need to be more innovative so that we're reaching more people. We already know, everyone in this room, because you all must be engaged, that we have historically the lowest turnout from any district over at City Hall, being District 5. So we already now at this moment are going to go 50+ days without any representation on the dais. So it's very important that we elect someone who is ready on day one. And so that's one of the opportunities that we have in me, is having somebody that's ready on day one. And I look forward to having your confidence on May 21st.
Let me ask this, Mr. Moraine, are you aware of some of the projects that have already begun for the District 5 seat?
Yes, and I think it's important that the projects kind of tie into everything that's going on. We got stuff like the Magic Sports Entertainment Complex and even things taking place in the underpass. A lot of people think about District 5 and only think about Paramore, the West Side, but it also encompasses downtown. And I think it's important that whoever's in office is aware of it and also includes people from the district and the residents at the tables. Because too many times these projects come to Paramore and Carver Shores and different areas, and the people who live there don't get a chance to actually voice their opinion. Their backyards are turned into parking lots. They're not told about the different events coming. They have no voice at the table. I've experienced it myself. So I think that it's important that we do grow with District 5, but we also include the already residents, and we make sure that these projects don't make it easier for gentrification to take over the district.
Okay. If you had to think about your vision for District 5, what would that be, Cameron?
My vision for District 5, economic development is probably what's needed most in the district. The projects that they have going on, I like to see, most of them are related to downtown. I like to see, something happen in the Paramore district as far as, more businesses, a more nightlife, just a more vibrant community. And it benefiting the entire district, the residents in particular, and not so much of, what they have now, and just people from other communities are coming in and, experiencing the experience in the district, but the district isn't really benefiting from it.
Mm-hmm. If we had to broaden that, Erica, what would be your vision for District 5 as it relates to Orlando?
So as the CEO of a public relations company, I run Crown Communication Group. And what we focus on is helping our clients to have greater visibility for whether it's a cause that they are supporting or it's a particular initiative or a campaign that they're running. And so my vision for District 5 is to do a brand refresh. I feel like we need to know more about the entirety of the district, know more about what each neighborhood, let's think inside the box of how we can support each neighborhood and making sure that they are successful. There are several small businesses that are in danger of closing their doors or stopping their business because they don't have a plan of action, they don't have a business plan, they don't have access to capital. And so there's a great deal of economic development that needs to happen throughout the district. Additionally, education support is going to be very important. Our children are at highest risk of getting into trouble between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. And so we need to have additional educational support and make sure that we have the programs and we expand PKZ, expand MKZ, making sure that kids are able to build their skills and learn ways of having new jobs and having new business opportunities for themselves. So my vision for District 5 is to refresh the way that we see District 5 and ensure that we have opportunity for the entire community.
Thank you. Ms. Ellison, you spoke about rent control being one of your focuses, but I want you to expand a little further. Give us 3 top focuses. Should you win, what would be your 3 top focuses?
One is, being that I'm a cancer survivor, and there are over 5,000 people affected in Orlando alone every year from cancer. I want to be able to provide more financial assistance for those who suffer from a chronic illness as that. Another issue I would say is I want to be able to provide more funding, access to the elderly for home improvement as well. And I have a nonprofit named Blues Truth. It's a mentor empowerment program. I want to bring up more entrepreneurs like myself.
Thank you. Ms. Gelsler, same question. Your top 3 focuses.
My top 3 focuses, you have to understand what has been done in the past and understand. So the first thing I would do, having a finance background, a forensic audit. There's been a lot of funds that have come to our community, District 6 and District 5 in the city of Orlando. However, has it really made the impact it could have? So we need to do a true forensic audit. My main concern is we can talk about economic development. That's my background. That's why I have been a business owner for 40 years. This is what I do. I have nonprofits. I am in 10 counties. I know how to find jobs. I know how to find additional funding. It's most important that we find extra funding and not just look to the city, that $1.4 billion budget to sustain us, because half of it goes to the fire department and the police department. So what is crucial in the vision for me is making sure the citizens understand that they are our boss, that they are. This is not a dictatorship, it's a democracy, and giving them the voice to know what's best for them. But and last, attainable housing. We keep saying affordable housing, but you have to make $106,000 a year to have a decent home in Orlando right now. It's not attainable. But when I say the forensic audit, we've had funds come to District 5 for apartments, but have you checked to see what the small print is for those leases, those rental agreements? People rent is going up every 6 months. We need to review what is happening, and so that's why I say it's most important. You can't make change when you don't know what's happening, and very few of us know what's going on.
Thank you so much. Same question for Mr. McCurdy. Your top 3 focuses.
Well, I just want to make it clear and make it important to know that I'm not here to scare anybody in here. Everything in District 5 is not as bad as some people may try to portray it. A lot of some of the issues that we face are some internal issues. And I tell people all the time, I'm 40 years old, and what's in black and white, that means what's on paper, the policies and ordinances that's adopted at City Hall. We don't, every response to a problem is not looking for a new solution. There are things that exist and possibly they're not working to that. We're not maximizing the benefits of them, and we need to look at how we restructure these things, or we need to look at how we reallocate. So we do have a lot of progress. We've seen a lot of good things in District 5 over the years. We're at this unfortunate situation not because of anything that happened at City Hall. So to look like there has been no progress made in District 5, I'm not here to scare any of you, but my top priorities will absolutely be economic development. I mentioned earlier that we have all of the 3 venues here in District 5. So when you talk about the certification process, a lot of times we see landscaping companies, construction companies outside of District 5 doing work here in this district, and wonder why the people who own those businesses that we know personally can't get the business is because they don't have the proper certification. So as your city commissioner, it's my job to do the proper outreach to make sure that all of our businesses have the proper credentials, so when these opportunities become available, they can take advantage of them. We talk about homelessness and housing. Everyone wants, we know we need more housing. The population is continually to increase, but what we also shouldn't be doing, and because of things that are happening in Tallahassee, is criminalizing homelessness. People are homeless for a number of reasons. A mother could have just lost her job and missed 1 month of rent, and because you have some slumlords that are unwilling to work with these residents, we have to stop those type of practices locally and at home. So, and when we talk about my third priority would be investing in our youth. The youth they're our leaders of tomorrow, and we know that I'm a product of Orlando, so I'm proof that when you invest in children, that good things can come up out of this district. We don't have to look any further. So when you talk about bringing money home, I'm happy to have brought money home in the state budget to expand PKZ, and now we have MKZ. I know how it's done because I've already done it, and that's what I like to say. I have receipts, and I look forward to continuing this work on a more collegial level at City Hall. It's not as divisive. This is a nonpartisan race, and we can see instantaneous results with somebody who we know that is ready, and I'm that person.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, what I'd like y'all all to do, kind of look at me from time to time. I like to wink. Yeah, I know. Look at the crowd, but look at your sister right here. Because before I say time, I will give you a nice sisterly wink. I gave it to you 3 times. You mentioned something, so we're going to switch the direction for a moment. And that's not I'm not admonishing. I'm just saying, look at me from time to time. All right.
You are good looking.
No, I'm not saying it for that reason. Not for that reason. I'm just saying, I'm giving you cues, please. Couple of things. First, some housekeeping. The bathroom right outside the door. Watch your step going out this door. I know we have a lot of wiring over here. Second thing is we're getting questions from Facebook, but they're not solid yet, y'all. So ask really good questions. And then also you have some cards if you want to write something. We will get to those as well. How y'all doing back there? Everybody's fine? Okay, good. Steph, he's got some cards. Anybody have your cards ready? And while they're doing that, Shan, we talked about houselessness, people who are unhoused. Formerly incarcerated people are nearly 10 times more likely to experience homelessness than the general population. Meanwhile, state and local policies criminalized unhoused people, creating a revolving door between homelessness and incarceration. Thank you. How would you work to reduce homelessness in District 5?
So there are a few things. I experienced a period of homelessness, so it's not we can't just tell folks how to solve this. We have to come together as a community and really work together. I'm part of the Christian Service Center, and I sit on a committee where we talk about it. We have Tim Green in the audience who is working on housing opportunities. Live Local Act was created, and I think that there's an opportunity now more than ever. And for those that don't know Live Local, the state said if you build housing, apartment units, you can go as high as you like as long as 40% of your units are for affordable housing. So there's an opportunity for us to look at what is creating density. Single family homes are an option, but when we talk about the unhoused community, we have to look at how do we solve their issues? How do we provide the services? The Central Florida region does not have a long-term mental health facility. We really need to visit that. We need to say, where can we place a long-term mental health facility within this community so those who are experiencing mental illness, they have an opportunity. We also need to say, we need to really talk to people and find out how did you get where you are. So every year there's a point in contact opportunity where in every region they go and they talk to the homeless and they meet as many as they can. We really need to look at it as a community holistically. And I think having a think tank, which was created a couple of months ago by Commissioner Hill, we need to revisit a think tank and talk about homelessness together and bring the business, the private sector on, the businesses in, and say, how do we work together to find housing opportunities?
Miles, I want to ask you the same question. Do you remember it?
Can you repeat it quick?
Repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Formerly incarcerated people are nearly 10 times more likely to experience homelessness than the general pop. Meanwhile, state and local policies criminalized unhoused people, creating a revolving door between homelessness and incarceration. How would you work to reduce homelessness in this district?
All right. Well, to answer both parts, when it comes to people who have records and have some of the hardest times for trying to find housing, we need to find ways to kind of meet them where they're at. We can't hold them to the same standards. I know a lot of people who make the money, have good jobs, but can't afford or can't actually get into a place because of their record. So I believe right now what we need to revisit are the programs that are more accepted for people with backgrounds and working with groups that are actually doing the housing. Myself and other groups I know are actually providing transitional housing for people right now. I've worked with groups like Aspire, Coalition, HSN, Assault Outreach, and other groups to kind of bring transitional housing to people on the street and meet them where they're at. And I also think that we need to kind of hold people's hands to kind of help them restart their record. There are groups like FRC who are hosting this event that have actually hosted workshops on how people can help apply for clemency and things of that nature. And I also think when we're talking about the homeless issue, we need to meet people where they're at, even the families, because it's more than just the formerly incarcerated. It's a lot of mother and children that are on the street. And before we also tackle the ones on the street, we need to work on the people who are in their homes. We have so much rent increase going up and so many things happening that a person is one bad day away from being that same person on the ground. So I think that when we're building these new developments and we're talking about affordable housing, we need to make sure that it's not just affordable housing for 5-10 years. It needs to be permanent affordable housing. And it needs to be a building that's actually catered just to that. 40% sounds good, but we got 100% of people on the street that need help right now. So we can't find the right stuff. We can't just keep going the same way. I know there's a lot of things that are in place, but I'm a real person that pushes for change. And if we can't change the stuff right now, then none of us need to be running, because there needs to be change in District 5. And if we can't fight for that, then there's no choice. We have no choice but to fight for that, just to be honest.
Thank you very much.
So this is a question from the audience, and I'm going to ask the question, and then whoever wants to respond first, just raise your hand, and whoever gets it first, that's who we'll go with. Let's see how that works. What are you going to do to prevent housing discrimination against returning citizens? Mr. McCurdy.
Yes, because I've already worked on issues like this in Tallahassee, and I know that as a city commissioner, you have an obligation to work with your state legislators and you lobby them. And you work with the Florida League of Cities, because it's not just an issue that's exclusive here in Orange County. And we know that it's a statewide issue, but I'm happy to have worked with organizations just like FRRC and my work in the legislature as an elected member and an aide prior to that, working for ban the box legislation. What a lot of people don't realize is when you're talking about returning citizens and housing issues, or even employment issues because of their background, more specifically with housing, it affects even the people that they love who have no background at all. And they suffer because if the man is a returning citizen and he's married to a woman with no record, because he probably is the breadwinner, and they have to fill out an application jointly because they want to live together in an apartment, they can be discriminated against, and she's negatively impacted that she has done nothing wrong. So it affects more than just the person who was formerly incarcerated, and we have to be mindful of that. And I am every day, and I look forward to working every day to make sure that everybody who lives in District 5 can live decent and can call District 5 home.
Here's another question from our audience.
I had raised my hand.
You raised your hand?
I did.
Go ahead, Ms. Gelser.
I think that there was a lot of focus on banning the box when it came to employment. I really think that we can revisit looking at banning the box when it comes to applications. I know that it's a requirement when it comes to getting federal funds as far as Section 8 or something like that. However, we have a lot of landlords and others. I feel like if we can communicate and show that it's most important that we have people who really need, as just one solution. Let's try looking at something unique, but not unique. It's not different. It's like we put a lot of emphasis on banning the box. But what about banning the box when it comes to rental applications?
Thank you very much. Another question from our audience. Can you name all the areas, districts in D5 that are not Paramore? Ms. Dunlap?
I'd love to. So we have from Rosalind Street, which is the Lake Eola downtown corridor, our central business district. And then we move over through Paramore. Then we go into the West Lakes, which is where I live. I'm a resident of Clear Lake Cove, and that incorporates Lake Sunset, Bunch Holondo, Lake Lorna Dune. You also have Clear Lake and West Lake and Rock Lake and Spring Lake. And so we move through there and we go into the Ivy Lane corridor. We have Malibu. We have a little bit, it's not really Carver Shores, because Carver Shores is District 6, is that correct? Because you're looking at me like, so District 6 is Carver Shores on the left side of the street, and as we're going down Raleigh, because you know I travel these roads every day, so we're going down Raleigh, we have Timberleaf. Of course, you go up to Kirkman, and you turn down Kirkman, and you have the Metro Place, you have the various apartments that are in that area, and then we have Metro West, and so the homes that are in Metro West are also incorporated. Let us not forget, though, Mercy Drive, because oftentimes people just absolutely leave Mercy Drive hanging by itself, but Mercy Drive and the Willows are a part of District 5, and so it's a very expansive district that we have to be intimately involved with each neighborhood. So I have said that street by street, it's important for us to know who our neighbors are and know how we can best help them.
There were 2 communities missed. Harleston Estates, you cannot miss it. It's the pink community off of John Young and 50, as well as Lake Man and Lake Man Estates. So those are 2 very prominent communities that we cannot forget. Harleston Estate has been flooding for years, and that's been their biggest issue. And when I did run in 2021, we were able to talk about it and really hold City of Orlando accountable, and they are now going through it's been promised for a long time since Commissioner Daisy Lynham to work on the flooding in the streets, because if you go into Harleston Estate, there are no sidewalks and they're always flooding and their streets have mud in it. When we talk about Lake Man and Lake Man Estates, we forget the housing, all of the housing in Demetra Homes. So there are a few little areas. Then there are also there's some housing units along Colonial Drive that we missed. We can't forget that area. So just wanted to add that in. There are some forgotten communities west of John Young.
Lake Man Estates is not forgotten. That's where my father lives on Lipscomb Place. My father, who just passed away 2 days ago. So I'm very well aware of Lake Man Estates, and I'm sorry I didn't mention it, but blame it on my head, not my heart.
So are there any other districts, any other areas that you all know that are included in District 5?
Technically, you need to go down Kirkman. All the apartments on the east side of Kirkman, Valencia is also in the district.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else?
All right. We thank the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition for sponsoring tonight's forum. Can we give them a round of applause for Desmond Meade and Brother Marquise Rose and all of those, Marquise McKenzie, we appreciate you. So this question, Mr. Hope, focuses on the work that they specifically are invested in, and it's formerly incarcerated people are nearly 10 times more likely to experience, we already asked that one?
Yeah.
We asked that? Yeah. Oh, I wasn't listening. I apologize, I missed it.
Look at this one then.
Let's go here.
Y'all want to stay on
Well,
homelessness?
I like to expand on something about that, if you don't mind. And I come from a state of experiencing this because I have been incarcerated, and I have come back out to the community. You know, I just like to be frank with people a lot of times. And, you know, when you're incarcerated and you come back out, you don't have rights. And you have a lot of obstacles against you as far as housing is concerned. I've had to move. Well, when I came back out, I did live with my wife, and she was already established at the time. So I did have a home to come home to. But there had been times when I was looking for my own place to live. I always have to be concerned about, you know, your record and not being able to find that. Fortunately, I was able to do those things, but I've heard so many stories from other guys that have come out and have been unable to do those things. You know, just getting your rights restored, your right to vote, your right to carry a firearm, other rights. There was a time where I wanted to do insurance, and I wanted to sell insurance to go along with my tax business. Even in your tax business, you know, you're asked by the IRS, you know, you have to wait maybe like 10 years sometimes, you know, before you can, you know, be able to qualify for some of these things, and it affects your income and affects your livelihood. And so, I mean, these are very, very important issues. And what I mean about being frank is, you know, District 5, because of our racial makeup in the district, we're unequally affected by these issues, and we have to deal with these issues, and this keeps our district in this continuous state of just not being included or able to, you know, achieve. So I think that, you know, this organization, Marquise, I've heard of him before in his work, and they're doing a very, very valuable service in the community.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moraine, a question from our audience. With youth crime on the rise, what are some of the things that you are willing to implement, especially Washington Shores, where you have Carver Middle School? Crime is just not in Paramore.
Yeah, thank you. And just for background context, I've been a big pusher for neighborhood-led efforts against crime. I've always been a big proponent of letting the community have a table there. I'm not against law enforcement. We've done protests against some social injustices, but at the end of the day, I do feel like the community needs the resources because it's a cycle of crime, so you gotta also address what's going on, but also try to build up the community. I've worked on programs like that's now been into like the Community Violence Intervention Project, which is at the City of Orlando, which works for people who have a background, who reach out to kids at risk, and instead of just doing some stuff that's just rudimentary or 1, 2, 3, they're actually reaching them on the streets, bringing them resources, and bringing them back to the stuff that they need to change their life. It's real critical, it's real intense, and I think that we gotta roll up our sleeves and get on the ground when it comes to it. We can implement a lot of programs, we can fund a lot of groups, but if we're not empowering communities to help themselves, to make sure that mom and dad don't have to worry about putting on the lights and there's not a stress at the house and they can keep an eye on the child that's running around the streets at night that has nowhere to go, it's a deep plan. So we need to have community-led efforts. We need to empower community centers. We need to release some of the restrictions that are keeping people out of these centers and make it more welcoming and open. And we also need to put more money towards these programs that are catered towards bringing people that are out of the ordinary box. But I think it's very important that when it comes to crime and it comes to that, we don't just say that it's crime because it's a neighborhood like Washington Shores or Lake Man, and it's just because it's black. It's crime because there's a necessity, there's a need, there's people who are starving, there are people who are struggling and panicking, and until we address that and until we make sure that we're fixing that, we're not gonna solve the crime issue that's large at hand.
Very good.
Let me stay on the crime factor for just a moment. I have a couple of questions here. One of them from our audience, the police have a special relationship with District 5. More juveniles per capita are arrested from District 5, and a disproportionate number of citizens from District 5 are killed by the police. With OPD having the 4th highest police cause of fatalities, I'm thinking that this is what it's saying. How have you supported the victims that have been impacted by this? How can you help normalize this relationship? I'm gonna also ask you guys, when you're writing your questions, make sure that we can really read them, because I don't want a subphrase. So does anybody want to take that question?
So I will. I mentor youth in the community, and we need more middle school youth programming in the city of Orlando. There are a lot of programs that are focused on our elementary kids as well as the high school, so we really need to work together to create and fund middle school programming. As far as law enforcement goes with the community, there's a few things. So I was part of the community policing orientation several years ago where we talked about how do you engage with the community and law enforcement. There's always been a divide, and I don't think one person can stand here and say that they will ever change that. But I think us working together and really having hardcore conversations to talk about how we feel in this community, coming together. So I had proposed several years ago, I had proposed a program where the community sticks together to really, if there are bad officers. So when we think about when George Floyd happened, that was a bad officer who community members did not stick together to have him removed. So I had proposed a program, and as a commissioner, I would stand and I would meet with Chief Smith and talk about how do we create and fund a program on the outside where those victims who have been brutalized in any kind of way, who may be scared and may feel like they may be targeted by law enforcement, how do we create programs as a community to go stand together? When it's not just one person going to report on a bad officer, it's 20 of us saying we put money together and fund just in case they are targeted, right? We do hear of situations across this country where law enforcement may drive past your house after you file a complaint. They may target you and try to put you in jail, and we hear that so often, especially, I mean, I've heard that plenty of times. I'll go from walking in the neighborhood and going from one community to another area, and they're all talking about the same police officer who they have an issue with. Well, if y'all all have the same issue, we need to come together and go down to 2350 West South Street and talk to the chief, and let's file an IA complaint and really say, let's hold officers accountable and let's remove bad officers out of our community.
May I?
This is something that is dear to my heart, unfortunately. I am currently working with several families, the Diaz family, the young man that unfortunately lost his life literally a couple of blocks from here in 42 seconds. What I would want us to understand, there's crime everywhere, unfortunately, because it's economically based. 70% of crime is because people are trying to survive. It's driven that way. But what you look at, what is happening, if we're gonna look at Orlando Police Department, I have been advocating for us to just have a use of force metrics. That means that you don't use a chemical agent on me at first contact. The city of Orlando has one of the worst use of force metrics in the country. Most have 6 levels. If we can start changing there, we can see that there's an effort. I know about these officers because a lot of times people reach out to me about what has transpired. I go to the Citizen Review Board meetings. Unfortunately, it's not what we think it is, but I'm tired of a lot of officers getting to go and have their vacation at the airport, because that's what we call it, when they're on probation or they're being held accountable. But if we're going to talk about our youth and how we improve, that's something I did. And the gentleman reminded me, he was just up here. You work with our young people. You give them other opportunities. As a female athlete, and I'm looking for the wink, the bottom line is, when you have young people involved in activities and you provide them, and I'm going to talk about the math, the bell curve, if we put our focus on the middle, all our revenue on the middle, we'll save so many more children than we're putting our focus on just the few that has done. We cannot save everybody, but stretch those dollars. And guess what? $1 invested in a young person today, you will get a return of thousands if they're in that realm.
May I? Thank you very much. I'll be brief. So the question said, what are we going to do, or what do we do what do I do to support families and victims? I believe that we possess the power collectively, and it really all goes back to voting. Unfortunately, not to sound cliche, but no person in leadership is here by happenstance. So who you vote for on the local levels, on the state levels, on the federal level, it all affects everyone who's in place, from police chiefs and down the line. So we possess the power as people, as a collective, to make sure that our voices are heard, and that people, our neighbors, our friends, our families. And when you talk about youth programs and investing in our youth, I know personally of a bunch of there are nonprofits all over. We're saturated with nonprofits. But I know some very good nonprofits that do some very great work. And they have issues when they host events to keep our children safe and in a safe, positive environment. They can get police protection, police presence, and we need to do better to make sure that they have the resources with the influx of children so we can expand these programs.
Very good. Okay. Very quickly. Mr. Moraine and then Mr. Hope.
I just felt the need to speak on this because it's not so much of what I'm going to do, but what I'm going to expand on. For the past 8 years, we've been a group that's been working with victims of crime, and we haven't been shy to work with the victims of police injustices. You know, even in Florida, we had something that happened at Florida Mall with Salacious Melvin. And even Ms. Gels and other people were witnesses to that, for that effort when we fought for change, when somebody was shot in the back right here in Orlando. So we don't have to go looking far from when there's injustices that's happening. There's a lot of families that I could take you down different neighborhoods that would tell you about their kids who got shot by OPD or Orange County. It's not hard to find. So it's uplifting them. It's not disbarring people from getting rights because they have a criminal record or there's somebody in their family has a criminal record who's applying for it. It's making sure that we're not just keeping it in the 4 walls and not giving somebody assistance because they didn't make a phone call that was made while they were grieving their loved one. And that's the stuff that I've been doing. It's programs that I've been pushing for with the Orange County to bring these kind of programs to people, to them that might not even know is available. So it's not about even what I'm going to do, but I'm continuing to do. And I've been doing it without resources. The resources are needed. I'm always going to be pushed for the victims of crime because those are the ones that also become the people who, you know, retaliate too sometimes, sadly.
I'm sorry. Salacious Melvin was mentioned, and well, while I was even without a title, I too was there helping that family, helping the efforts of nonprofit organizations, even so much that I organized a one-on-one sit-down meeting with Sheriff Mina, myself, and Senator Bracey. So I too have been in the fight. I too have been working to get results. And I just, since that was mentioned, I also wanted to let you know that in me, you're getting somebody who has a vast amount of experience from all levels and spectrums and know how to work to get things done in a positive way.
Excellent. Mr. Hope?
Yeah, I'll be brief. I kind of disagree with everyone here. You know, it's obvious that the criminal justice system, the way that it affects us, is not working properly. When you look at it, it's no coincidence in District 5 that the Orange County Sheriff Department and the Orlando Police Department is in District 5. It's in a minority area. When you look at youth and you look at poverty, you have a lot of youth that are in single-family homes. They're in small dwellings. So eventually, either the mother's working or the kids are outside. And as time goes on, they're going to stray farther and further away from home. And when that begins to happen, then they come in contact with police and things like that. So we don't have enough programs and different things in our communities, but we can't lose the fact or the sight of the fact that we just have a systemic issue in our community, and we're adversely affected by the criminal justice system, than any other group, and this problem really needs to be solved.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness. We're going to go to Brad. All right, let's go to Brad. UCF, they have 2 questions for us.
Sure, thank you for that. We, just like everyone, think it's important to get questions from residents and stakeholders, so our questions are based from either residents or stakeholders within District 5. First question, it's a broad question, but gives y'all a chance to tackle a couple of different things. What type of plan will the candidates have to work with the city's fund, homeless service providers, developers, builders, landowners to address the needs of unsheltered, affordability and market rates housing crisis in Paramore in the district?
So I mentioned that earlier. It's about, oh, go ahead. It's private-public partnerships and Live Local Act that was enacted last year so that we can really say, how do we solve this problem? We can't leave the private sector out and not ask for help when developers are building. So what most people may not know is the mayor's office and the commissioner's office is the gateway into this community, right? So every single developer, no matter where they're building, whether they're building in Lake Nona or they're building in right here in the Paramore community, they must come to the commissioners and they talk to them. That's the opportunity as your next commissioner to say, go talk to the residents of this district. That's the opportunity to be able to talk to the people in the community to say, let's get you jobs, let's get you training. When projects come forward, it takes years before they actually go. When we sit down and we talk about vision plans and being part of vision plans, I've been part of many vision plans while I was at the city of Orlando as well as on the outside. So when we talk about the vision plan, where we're going, making sure that the residents are aware, making sure that our kids are aware. So our youth are the future, right? And so if we're not including them in conversations, and we talked earlier about youth crime and the youth, if we're not giving them a seat at the table, then we're just telling them what to do. And it's clear that the young people don't want to hear what we have to say as adults. So it's important that we're bringing the youth to the table. We're having conversations to slow down youth homelessness, because that is on the rise, right? And so that is one, the homelessness and especially youth homelessness, that's where we're having crime. That's where we're having the issues of economic crimes, where people are stealing, people are breaking into cars because I've got to find something to eat. I've got to be able to, find and stay in a hotel. And so I think we talk about the homelessness, the unhoused, and the community. I think really going back to the think tank that was done a couple months ago and really saying, let's look at the policies and the procedures and let's stick to it. We spend a lot of money at the city level for consultants and bringing in consultants. We've got to stick to the plan that's here and let's move District 5 forward.
Thank you. So the City of Orlando received $58 million in ARPA funding, which is American Rescue Plan Act, and that was allocated by President Biden to ensure that local communities were able to renovate and retrofit facilities and buildings, shelters for homelessness specifically. So as commissioner, my goal would be to focus on that ARPA funding and ensure that we think inside the box and we use what we already have, making sure that we're obligating that money, and it has to be done by December 31st of 2024. So we need to make sure that that funding is properly allocated to shelters as well as to various motels that are housing people. We need to make sure that people have the ability to be housed.
May I respond?
Question for you all.
Unfortunately, that money has already been allocated that she's speaking about. That was done last year, and that money has already been allocated. $25 million of it went to 5 nonprofits right here in the local area to deal with the homelessness, and that's already been voted on.
$23 million, where is that?
The other 23 million, you said 58, it was 25. But you could say it was 50. You could go right ahead because it's in the budget, but I'm just saying it was already allocated and was spent.
May I?
I'm not going to go back and forth.
15
Okay,
seconds.
listen. What was your comment? Go ahead.
Just on that question, it was loaded. So yeah, we have an obligation. The city of Orlando already gives money to the VBIF, the Black Business Investment Fund, to help local small businesses get a business plan and do all the things they need to be prepared. So we have to do a better job of outreach and letting people know the resources that they are not taking advantage of. Your commissioner will not be and can't be everywhere, but because we support organizations and programs like the African American Chamber, like Prospera, and give funding for our residents to take advantage of that. We have to stop talking to people and start talking with people. That young man had a very loaded question. He deserves to come into that office and share his ideas and some of the things, some of the red tape that he's experiencing, so we can tackle these as a collective. And that's why I'm going on in my first 100 days. I'm going on a tour throughout all of the neighborhoods in District 5, and I hope to see you on the tour.
I was going to ask a question that's leading to that, but go ahead, Brad. Go ahead and finish your second one.
Thank you. Candidates, please be respectful. Don't talk when another candidate is talking. Next question. What is the candidate's perspective and vision on mixed income and Paramore in the district? What efforts will the candidates put forth to ensure the district becomes a mixed income economy, diversified neighborhood as the plan calls for?
I'll start with the first answer to that. I think that when it comes to the mixed income, we've seen a lot of big push for affordable housing, and they have a certain percentage that goes into these new developments. So you got a pretty much idea that it's going to be mixed income. But what we're seeing in reality is the rents are rising at a rapid rate, even for those homes. So it's becoming more of a weeding out process. So I think that while we're building new properties and we want to make sure that District 5 and different parts from all over look good and they're up to code, we also got to make sure that we make places that are specifically for affordable housing and that they're catered for affordable housing, solely for affordable housing. We can't tear down old housing projects in Orlando and build mixed income properties only and expect for the same people to reside in these areas. It's simple math. If you're taking the income and changing the restrictions, of course the 100% of the people who lived here before can't reside here now. So while we're building that and we do have mixed income properties, it's also important that we have affordable housing properties that are solely for that, and that importantly, we make sure that the people who are here get the same trainings, the same opportunities, the same things that Mr. McCurdy and other candidates are talking about, walking those people into those rooms, teaching them how to get the certifications, teaching them how to get these trades. We need a two-pronged approach because we can't just provide social services without making sure that people can grow with what's taking place in the city. But I think that's one of the things we can't forget. We could build as much mixed income properties as we want, but we can't keep moving the little people out just to make room for the growth.
Did you want to?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Does anybody else want to? But you know what?
I was going to be.
Okay, hold on one second. Hold on one second. I want to hear from Ms. Ellison. Sweetheart, jump in there, baby. You say whatever you want to say. I'll make them stop.
I was trying at one point. I think when it comes to the mixed income properties, far as these upcoming projects, I think we need to hire within the community. That will cut some of the financial burden that we're having in the community. We have a lot of people that qualify for some things that aren't being done. We can hire those that live in the community to help with these projects, and that will lift some of the financial burden.
Can I go back to some of the questions here?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Ellison, I'm going to stick with you. I live here in District 5, and this is from our audience here, and own a company there. What resources will you be able to provide for the local small business owners?
That's what I currently do. I provide access to business credit and business funding. I'm a grant writer as well, so I help those who need access to funding get that funding. So people come to me with their business plans. I help them set up budgeting and business plans as well. And I write out their grants to help them qualify for funding to help them jumpstart a business.
But I think they're going to want a lot more than that.
Say that again?
I think they're going to want, okay, I'll read the question again.
Okay.
I live here in District 5 and own a company there. what resources will you provide for the local small business owners? I know that you have those services, but what from a district point can you provide? Will you be able to provide if you're elected?
If elected, I will provide the resources for us how to put a team together, how to allocate funding, because they will need to know that to manage a successful business.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Taking other
You want to
responses?
add?
I can. As a business owner within the community, I have the experience of licensing. So we need to have more stakeholder meetings with the businesses that are currently in place to figure out what are the needs. BBIF, HBIF are organizations within the community that get SBA funds to be able to help organizations. So we've got to do more. So what I am committed to do is, as I'm campaigning here, once elected, I will continue to campaign. Right? And that campaigning is, let's talk about your housing needs, let's talk about your business needs, let's talk about your community needs, let's talk about the crime, let's talk about health options. We're gonna continue to, I am committed to continue to talk to the people, talk to the residents, talk to the businesses, and hear what are the concerns, and be able to connect the dots. I currently do a lot of community resource connecting the dots. So I'm actually working with, there's someone here in the audience that is a business owner, is figuring out how do you get structure, how do you put things in place. I have a business degree, I'm a bachelor's degree in business, so I understand how a business should run, and it's being able to educate and uplift. Reach one, teach one is kind of the motto that we need to be able to create.
Ms. Gelza, if you'd like to answer.
It was actually Erica that wanted to answer the
Oh,
question.
she can speak for herself. She can speak for herself. Go ahead.
Thank you. And so, could you repeat the question, please?
I don't even know what the question was.
Yeah, I know. I don't either.
I live here.
So the business
in
owner,
District 5,
yes.
own a
Yes.
company. What resources will you provide for the local small business? I didn't tell you I was going to. Yeah, okay.
So as I have been meeting with people throughout the district and being in various neighborhoods, one of the things that people mention is that they would like to have more workshops come to them, and so meeting people where they are to help them with their businesses and to help them with formalizing their business. A lot of people are not operating their business in such a way that they're able to get certified because they're not properly set up. And so we have to provide opportunities at our local neighborhood centers and bring some of those resources, bring those connections to the community directly to ensure that these entrepreneurs and these small businesses are viable and that they're able to continue staying in profitability. So that's what I would do as commissioner, is ensure that we're bringing that resource directly to them and making sure that they have their businesses in order.
I see you out the corner of my eye. Go ahead, Trevon.
Thank you. I think it's also important to know we should collaborate with the rest of the council as well as the mayor, because I don't just want residents of District 5 getting work in District 5. If you can get work in 5, 6 in Seminole County, I don't care where it is. I want to make sure that we expand opportunities for people here in this district and that we can help to, maintain and sustain some family legacy and some economic prosperity for our people. I want people in District 5 to thrive. I want you to flourish. I want you to not be restricted or to feel restricted. So we have businesses here in this district that deserve opportunities to expand. And that's what I want to bring to this district. I told you, I'm managing small business development for the Aviation Authority. I host outreach events monthly that reach thousands of people. So I'm so happy that more black and brown people that look like a lot of folks in this room are getting opportunities to learn how to do business with the airport. And we can do that with a host of other government entities, and not just government entities, but having that experience. And I told you earlier about the BBIF funding that they received from the city of Orlando. So the city is already doing some great things. We need someone who understands how to hit the ground day one to make sure that we're casting a wide net and that people are getting the information that's needed.
I want to add to that. As a business coach, what was missed is branding and marketing. I will provide the resources to teach you how to brand and market towards your target audience so you can have a selling business.
Okay. As a business owner for 40 years in the Paramore community, I understand the development, but what I have learned is that we have to work with the organizations and businesses that are there, expand. So it's not something new, but we need people to understand opportunities. So from a B corporation. I have a B corporation. I have a consulting service. I work with nonprofits. I work for profit organizations. Finding those additional funds, we can do it collectively. So it's not like it's something new. It's just we need to make sure the community understand these resources are there to help, not to just be a handout, but to help you strive and prosper in the city of Orlando and the surrounding communities.
Thank you.
Mr. Hope had
Well, I just want to add this. All of them had great ideas. The two largest expenses in a business is usually your rent and your employees. And the city does have small business rental assistant grants that, I think they've gone up to as much as $10,000. And so providing those things for small businesses are great help. And, for employees in my business, it's not really the city, but it's a resource that the city can provide for them. I guess it's access or whatever. Sometimes they can provide employees, to work in your business at no cost. They have to kind of work off some other services that they get, and they can work for you for no cost.
If this question is a deciding factor for anybody in this room that's a business owner, I don't believe your two largest expenses as a business owner is your employees, et cetera. I think your two largest expenses is your insurance and your bonding, and that's what I will help you figure out and connect you with the right resources to help you get your business off the ground. You can't get your business off the ground to pay any employees if you don't have the proper insurance and bonding requirements.
Let me ask this: are you all familiar, candidates? Are you all familiar with the MEBA?
Mm-hmm. So it's offered through the City of Orlando Community Redevelopment Agency.
How would you make that expand? How would you be able to bring more people that information? Because MEBA is the Minority Women Entrepreneur Business Assistance Program. How would you make that more prominent? Because so few people know about these things. And that's what if I had to add my 2 cents, this is what I would like to see y'all do more better for all of the districts, because money is available. How are you going to make it more known to these business
Well,
people?
as a public relations practitioner, it's important to make sure that we have the right messaging going to the audience. And so I know firsthand exactly how to help people brand their audience. Content is king anymore. Instagram, TikTok, that is the way to make business happen. So I think it's important for people to have trainings on how to properly promote their business, how to brand their business, as Ms. Ellison said, how to make sure that you are visible to your top clients. And as commissioner, a part of your responsibility is to connect people. So as you're connecting businesses to other small businesses that can be subs or can be can host some of those contracts, I think it's important that we're making sure that that's happening.
So MEBA is a program that's offered through the Community Redevelopment Agency, which I was an employee of, and that's the only department because of the special tax increment that is given to the community. So what we have to look at is what opportunities are available and how do we expand on them. And that it's interesting to say, right? Because a lot of the businesses that have used MEBA in the past have failed. Right, and so what we do need to do is have workshops to really figure out who wants to be entrepreneurs and how to really get there. We've got to let people know that you may want to be an entrepreneur, but are you ready, right? And so we spend a lot of tax dollars helping people with a dream that doesn't work. And so what we have to look at is really say, what do you want to do? And then we have to start, like I said earlier, we have to start back with the kids. We have to put our kids on a path. What does entrepreneur? Everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. But how do we say, what is it that you want to do, and let me connect you to that resource? So there is an opportunity for me, but it's not successful. So what we can't do is we can't spend tax-paying dollars on programs that are not successful and not working. But what we can say is what funds are available, what workshops can we host, how do we create entrepreneurship? How do we bring people who are not afraid to say, I ran a business that didn't work, and let me talk to you about the hardships, and really let people, I think you go back to the back in the days when they had the Scared Straight program, where they took kids down to the prison and the jails, and they said, this is what life is like. We've got to be able to do that in the business world and entrepreneurship world, because everybody's not meant to be a business owner.
Very good. All right, we'll go to Mr. McCurdy, Mr. Moraine.
Thank you. I think you can have the right content, you can have the right messaging, the right intentions, you can host all the worships that you want, But if it's not accessible to the people that actually need it, who are working 2 or 3 jobs, it's about the time of day that you host these workshops. You have to have somebody, a leader in this seat for District 5 that's willing to go out of the box and to have these workshops when it's available, when it's necessary, when it makes sense for people who are busy. We need to have workshops at this time of night, right here, and make it accessible. Everything can't be downtown. Everyone that doesn't have adequate transportation. So we need to be mindful. We also have to know that District 5 ain't all black. It ain't all white. It's very diverse. And we have language barriers here in District 5. We need to make sure that we're disseminating information in multiple and various languages, so we're covering a wide net for all the residents here in District 5.
Very good. Mr. Moraine.
Well, I won't be long now. He took my answers. But seriously, I agree with him, and I agree that, it's a lot of stuff in the city that I've seen that are great, that are opportunity-wise, but, there's no access, and it's not an effort. You might see a post on the website, you might see a post on social media, and that's it. So I do agree we need to have access that's online. We need to do it outside of normal hours, but we also need to go to people. We need to push people. If you know somebody who knows somebody, incentivize them. Everybody else gets incentivized to do stuff, but we're not incentivizing our own people to come to the table. Make it advantageous to them to come here. Tell them that we can help them put the picture in their head, but we also need to go to them. So I just think we need to have stuff at different times, but we also need to go and do recruiting. That's why it's important to have somebody who's on the ground, in touch with people, and will actually bring the people to the table and not wait for them, because if we wait for everybody, we'll never get the progress we need.
Yes. Ms. Gelsler wanted to weigh in.
I just want to say I've liked the answers, but one thing about that program, it was confined to a particular area, the CRA, the downtown development. It was not for the entire community. So that was one of the problems. But I want to say, what happened when we were shut down during COVID? More businesses were opened by African-American women than ever before. So what transpired? We had time, and we had the opportunity to see our value. And because we knew that, we went into business to do things. I think for that program, expanding the boundaries and making sure people know the opportunities are there, but giving them a leg up. It's not new to find a business owner that has failed or has been successful, bring them to the table. This is what you need to do. This is what we failed in. This is what we do. So I must agree that the most expensive thing is setting up your business. It is your payroll. It is if you don't own your business, your building. It is your rent. So what I'm saying is making that, when I had to do that for 40 years, I had to learn hard knocks. I don't mind sharing that. But because of COVID, I made a decision to shut my business down and start another one. That's the consulting service that I'm doing. And I'm in 10 counties servicing people. So I'm saying we can do it. So remember what we were able to do when we were at home and we had time. Let's go back to that and make sure we expand the boundaries.
Every business ain't brick and mortar. Everybody don't have to pay rent. There's a lot of virtual jobs now, 2024.
So let me get to a question from our Facebook family. Thank you very much, Shaquille. What would be the plan, y'all check it out, what would be the plan of the elected candidates to help local ministries that are in need of help? For example, a ministry pushing their community events.
Well, churches are really a heartbeat of our communities because they receive so much of the requests of the community. And so often when people have challenges or issues, they will find a local church to support them, whatever that may be, whether it's grief counseling, whether it's they need to have their rent paid, they will usually go to a church. And so I believe that it's vital that the commissioner is someone who understands the connection, the vital connection of church and community. We have to make sure that all of the outreach that's being done, or the outreach that used to be done at a lot of churches, because let's be honest, people aren't going to church like they used to. And we need to make sure that the doors are open and that the doors are going to be able to stay open. So we have to ensure that the community can come to the churches and supporting the pastors and supporting the churches, supporting their vision. Because oftentimes they are establishing and attempting to create to make their visions flourish, but they don't have the community buy-in, or they're not having the community to actually take advantage of those services.
So I said it earlier, when I'm elected, I'm going to continue to run it like a campaign. So how many candidates are visiting churches on Sunday right now, that won't stop. We will. I'm committed AACCC. I'm a member of, and so committed to keeping the churches together and really hearing the concerns, having meetings, having conversations. I'm the only person here that has a whole media company. So when we talk about global access to people, I am the only person that owns a media company, a whole TV that's global, an app. Everybody can go download it right now on their phone. So connecting to people, talking to people is what I can do differently and what I provide and what I have. Social media is a big platform that we have to be able to say, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now with government and saying what you can and what you can't use, so being able to communicate with people that way. But I have a platform, a TV, that you can turn your TV on, and I'm in every household. So being able to meet people exactly where they are, whether it's in their bedroom, being able to connect with some of the churches and say, I have a platform that you want to be able to say you can stream your ministry on.
Now, many of you may know me as Miss America, and I have been on several television stations. And I also have a media company, which is Crown Communication Group, LLC. And so I also have a media company that can automatically ensure that viable companies have the ability to be branded properly. So with that, I look forward to making sure that any company who is in District 5 that is a viable company, we can create those metrics to be able to get you branded properly and in front of your audience.
Very good. I'm going to move on. This particular question encompasses the spirit of a lot of the questions that came in, so I'm going to read it from our audience. There is a lot of talk tonight about coming together. With that being the theme, who on this panel could you align with if you don't reach the necessary votes? Please name 2 individuals.
Can I go first?
All right, hold on. Y'all like that one, huh? I wrote it. No, I'm just playing. Let's go to Mr. McCurdy.
I've said publicly that I respect every person in this race. I never got in this race to run against anybody. I got in this race to run for the residents of District 6. So the reason I wanted to go first, because the 2 names that I have is City Commission. I'm sorry, for District 5. My 2 words are City Commissioner, and that's whomever is elected from this race. I vow to work with that person, to support that person, because I'll still be a resident of this district. So I'm willing to work with anybody. And once I'm elected on May 21st, I have a role for all of my friends here on the panel with me tonight.
Well, to answer the question, I
want to do this. Make sure we said 2 names that you'll work with on this particular dais.
Go ahead. So I have, in the past, I have worked with LaWanda Gelzer on different community outreach and engagement with the seniors. And I have stood side by side with protesting in the past with Miles. And so I've been, actively engaged within the community. But besides that, I'm committed to working with Commissioner Hill, because she started a lot of great things in this community, and she's built a lot of legacy and done a lot of great things. I was with her last week when we were having a community conversation about Legends Academy, and for those that don't know, Legends Academy needs everybody's help right now, the former Nat Ford Charter School. So we have to go reach backward, and God rest Commissioner Daisy Lynham. She's not available, but Commissioner Mabel Butler. And so being able to reach back to those who have paved the way within this community is it's just as important, and there is opportunity for us all to work together if we see fit to really do the work of this district, right? So folks may say, oh, I want to see it, or I want it. It's not about a title. It's not about a job. It's not about a paycheck. It's about really rolling up your sleeves and getting the work done, and that's something that I've been doing and I'm committed to continue to do.
Ms. Dunlap?
To answer the question, I believe that every person up here deeply cares about their community. Clearly, they deeply care about District 5, and we are all committed to District 5. The 2 people that I would love to work with in the future would definitely be Mr. Miles Moraine. I think that he is a smart young man. I believe that he has a very smart connection to the community. He has a vision, and I think in time we will make sure that that happens. And I appreciate seeing just how he has connected to community. Additionally, this was tough, because all of y'all are, y'all doing y'all thing. I mean, I think Sister LaWanda, definitely you have been a fighter for a long time. And so I think that you have been a voice for the community in a variety of ways. I've worked with you in the past for some of your violence awareness events, and I think that it would make sense to make sure that you're able to talk about the environment as much as you'd like, and that's what I would like to do in the future.
Do you want
All right.
to?
Anyone else wanted to?
I would say I will work with anyone, but my go-to people I think that I can learn from is Miles and LaWanda. Me and LaWanda does some of the same things for as funding and grant, but has the longevity, and I think that I can learn more from her, just like she can learn from me.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
I don't want to. I can work with anybody, but when it comes to working, I've worked in a different capacity with other people in this community and on this panel for different reasons. So when it comes to Sharon Rose, we worked together on projects. When it came to Miles, the George Floyd, the movement, I mean, it's been a lot of us working together on different projects. So I can work with anybody. So I have no problem.
So a question came up about term limits.
Oh, I've been waiting to do that.
Are you in favor of 2 4-year terms for Orlando City elected officials?
I can go first on that if you don't mind. Actually,
I think we need
Okay.
to see whoever that is elected, what they come in and do before I agree to them having 2 back-to-back terms.
Okay, go ahead.
well, actually, I was for term limitations, and we tried to get that on the ballot about 15 years ago. Unfortunately, we failed to get enough signatures, but I believe that you should have term limitations, just like the county does, just like the state legislature, even the governorship. Unfortunately, we don't have it on the federal level, but on the local level, I believe we should have it.
Cameron?
No, I'm not for that.
You
The
want to
reason
run
why-
and run and run.
No, that's not. I mean, there's projects that the city gets involved in, the commissioners get involved in. Sometimes those projects could take over 8 years, and so if they're heavily involved in them and understand all the components of them, I wouldn't agree to an 8-year term limit.
Okay, you got another question? We talked about this already. A lot of these we've already answered.
Someone else wanted to add to the question?
I mean, the voters vote, right? So if you keep voting in the same person, then obviously they must be doing a good enough job for the community. I think that's something that we really need to look at. Elections happen every 4 years. If you don't see fit, you go and you vote. We saw in 2020, the country didn't like who was the president in 2020, and they said, well, it's time for him to go. He didn't serve 2 terms. So I think that's really in the hands of the voters.
But also, and importantly, in District 5 specifically, we have lower voter turnout than the person who is the last place in a lot of the other districts. So we have about 2,200 people that are voting in our elections on a general, and this being a special election, we may have less. It may be that people are engaged enough and they're interested enough to see that there are 7 people that are vying for this position. Clearly, District 5 is special. District 5 is a place where everybody wants to be a part of. And so I think that we have to have more voter turnout in order to be able to affect that.
So I would just want to add one thing. So like I said, when I get elected, I'm going to continue to campaign. I think that the commissioners should work together with the community and the organizations who are getting out the vote to educate people the importance of voting. So if we push it off to just when it's election cycle and we're just talking to the voters just when it's election cycle, then they're going to continue not to participate. People have to understand the reason, especially our young people who get to vote, who get to register at 16, and then when they turn 18, they get an actual voter registration card. We have to be able to educate people on the importance of voting. And so as a commissioner, I'm committed to having the conversations with the residents, talking to the people about the importance of voting.
All right, another question that came up. Thank you very much for that. How will you ensure community engagement? What community engagement strategies do you plan to implement such that all stakeholders know that they are heard and valued? Miles, I'll go to you first.
Thank you. I think very importantly that we make sure we don't miss out any of the communities in the district There are a lot of centers in District 5 itself, and some places in District 5 don't have a community center that's nearby, so we got to think outside of the box. I think that when we do stuff, you might see it at City Hall during the day when people are working. They don't get to see that, and they might not go on the website and visit that. So it's important that we go to these neighborhoods and we also identify who's the person in this neighborhood that everybody knows, who could get the word out, how can we find neighborhood ambassadors and put people involved with it, because the only way we're going to get people to be caring is if they got a seat at the table. So I think it's important that we go to the communities, we do some one-on-one hand identifying who is the person who's a stakeholder here that we need, and we need to make sure they're involved. And we also got to make sure that the commissioner doesn't just work from 9 to 5. This is a full-time, even more than just a regular, time range job. So on the weekends and on the weeknights, I'm a single father, but I still would dedicate myself to make sure I'm out there. I've been doing it for 8 years with my son on my hip while I go out into these communities, and nothing would change if I was elected as commissioner.
Thank you. This question also encompasses a lot of the spirit of the questions that have been submitted by our audience, and we thank the audience for the great questions that have been submitted. So I really want you to get a little deeper in your analysis or response to the question, because they're basically asking us to connect some of the dots with some of the things that you're saying. So get a little deeper. In what ways have you made measurable impact in the community? Be specific.
So I run a mentoring program where you have to turn in paperwork and you have to show hours and the activities that you're doing. So when we talk about youth impact, I've done that. When I moved into the Paramore community 6 years ago, the ACE school had been built, and there wasn't a lot of safety that was put in place. So I advocated for speed bumps, and we put speed bumps. Paramore is the only community with a crossing guard at every corner and every stoplight. The reason why is because while it's many residents in the community, there's a lot of commercial. We have 3 big venues that split the community apart. So I advocated and said, we need to make sure our students are safe and our kids are getting to school safely. When we talk about ZR Raleigh Park, and so when I speak from experience of where I live, and so when you say measurable, typically most people are going to say measurable right here, right now. So when I moved in, ZR Raleigh Park there was a lot going on, drugs, prostitution. So we were able to advocate, and I was able to advocate. We now have a security guard that's there, and the park is clean. People can use it, and when we talk about other measurable things, I've been part of community plans and community action plans where we're able to say, how can we make things better? So check in the box and say, we're able to do this, we're able to do that. So community policing, talking about for example, when a raid happens and there's drug raids in the community, it divides the community. So having a simple conversation, coming to talking to our kids, coming to talking to the community about the things that will positively impact them. During the winter time, I was able to work with seniors and we provided resources. Those are tangible things and tangible items. Wintertime.
Wintertime, okay.
During the wintertime.
Okay.
Working with the seniors to provide physical resources and appliances. I can go on and on. Running a nonprofit and doing COVID vaccinations. I've been doing the work in this community for a really long time.
Very good.
Okay, Ms. Gelser, can I go next?
Yes, you can go.
Measurable can also be with results and financial. Let's just look at the measurables for Lawana Gelser and what she was able to do in the past. I've said it before, I'm funded by the CDC, the EPA, HRSA, and the National Council of Aging. Last year alone, I brought $5 million to the district and District 6, the city, where $3.5 million was allocated for seniors to have new appliances in their homes, laptops, TV, and it was for them to stay in the home. All you had to be was age 60 and over. So 3.5 was brought to the community. That's a measurable outcome that I was able to participate with other community organizations, and we're able to do that. When it comes to the EPA, I'm funded currently right now for $1 million to do air quality monitoring in 14 communities in which Paramore, Holden Heights, Tangelo Park, but I hire community scientists. And also, I've worked with the Central Florida Black Nurses, Ranch. It's so many different organizations have been sub-recipient organizations, meaning I have channeled over $2 million to those organizations in the last 3 years for them to do services in their community. And last, the Central Florida Black Nurses did a favor to our community. Community health workers is now going to close that gap. They are a certified agent to train our community health workers. 67 have went through the training, all gets hired from us. We either do it with workforce or they get jobs. And then I have staff that works in 10 counties. So measurable, we're doing the work, we're filling in that community, that gap, that equity gap. It's not always about I care, but I'm finding the funds to make sure we can service our communities. And that's what I was able to do just in 3 years.
Thank you. Mr. McCurdy.
As the only person on the panel that's ever been elected, I'm the only person who has voted to pass a balanced budget and did it, passing the state's largest budget at the time back in 2020, during 2020 to 2022 as your state representative. Some of the measurables that I have include bringing millions of dollars home from Tallahassee, again, to expand programs like PKZ to MKZ and for other projects here in this district. Some of the other measurables, I have sponsored and co-sponsored legislation to address something that we haven't spoke about tonight at all, which is food deserts. We have food deserts here in District 5. We have not only children, but adults who don't have a meal to eat every day. And so when you talk about these SNAP benefits, I'm proud of the work that I've done in Tallahassee to expand these programs so people can not only just buy junk food at the corner store, but they have healthy food options. And that's very important.
Let me ask something, and this is coming from just me. When you mention food deserts, that's one thing. But can any of you say what you might do to put a real supermarket in District 5?
What's important is to have those relationships. And as the chairperson for the Advent Health Circle of Friends, which is a part of the Advent Health Foundation, it's important that we find ways to establish the relationships, the proper relationships. In my work as a PR person, I have had various relationships with tons of brands and tons of organizations and businesses that would love to do business with and find ways to create solutions for the food desert that we have. We need more viable restaurants in District 5. We also need a grocery store that's one that we all are able to access and we all are able to afford. So I think that having the relationships and not being afraid to go to the table and negotiate with those big businesses that have those relationships already is going to be key to being an effective commissioner.
This is what
Mr.
you do.
McCurdy, and then Ms. Rose and Ms. Gessler.
This is what you do. You pick up the phone and you call the lobbyist for Publix and tell them you want to.
You all gonna stay on that end down there?
I was answering the question before. I'm the one that made her, that
We'll-
prompted her
we'll
to ask
come-
the
we'll-
question.
we'll come
The
to you.
previous question about what we've done in the community, you didn't. It was coming down this way, and then she changed it. So everybody would
get
like
you.
to answer.
I'm
that.
not going to ask this, and I said this earlier, I'm not going to ask the same question to everyone.
Okay, but
So let's-
everybody will probably like to know what we've done for the community.
Well, let's, instead
Okay.
of jumping into his, let him finish. Thank
We'll
you very
get
much,
you.
sir.
Okay.
You pick up the phone, you call the lobbyist for Publix. But again, I don't have to establish these relationships because they already exist. And that's the benefit that you have in somebody that's prepared and that's proven and tested and that actually has a record for you to go back and check and see. It's not rocket science. It's not.
Miss, you done?
Ms. Rose and Ms. Gessler, if you're finished.
Yeah, are you finished?
Yeah, I'm done. Go ahead.
So you've got to do outside of the box thinking. So downtown Orlando, there's a Dollar General DGX that already has what's called a produce section. So we've got to look at, and as commissioner, I'm committed to funding the freezers inside of our corner stores. So we have a lot of corner stores within our communities. So there's opportunities, there's organizations that I'm already working with. The Daily Bread, Miss Maggie over on Princeton, I work with her right now where we're providing food to the community. So outside of the box thinking, where we say, how do I talk to the corner stores and say, can I put a freezer inside of your establishment so we have access to fresh produce? Community gardens are a big thing. So as the next commissioner, I would look to encourage apartment complexes that are being built to put community gardens within the facility so that right there, right at home, in your backyard or front yard or wherever they place it within the community, you have access. But more importantly, it's to our youth, to be able to talk about building pride within where you live. A lot of times we see apartment complexes that are built and they get run down because people don't live there, they don't own. So you build ownership and opportunities within the community. So like I said, being able to pilot that opportunity, currently in the town of Eatonville, we're working with 4 Roots and we're bringing out a mobile market truck. So looking at more mobile market opportunities to say, meet people where they are in their communities. How do we make it work? And it's going back to earlier, communication, being able to talk to people when something is going on. And I have the opportunity. You can download the app, Zaps Network. It's on the phone. It's easily accessible.
Thank you. Ms. Gessler.
Well, I'm very concerned about food deserts, and I know from an economic standpoint, we deserve to have something. But in the meantime, I have already been approved from Goldman Sachs to do a project. And because of the project, we're going to look at doing a community garden, expanding the one we currently have. Right now, we are the only, the Coalition of 100 Black Women, my mom left her house. We're the only resilient hub learning center in the Orange County. Our community garden is ran by the community. We are yielding and giving free food today. But I want to say when it comes to Goldman Sachs is looking at where we can place a viable grocery store in our community, and that is some of the additional measurement goals, finding that money. I was eligible because our organization was able to sustain, make sure we capped out. We had to make a certain amount of money every year. We have passed that. We did our yellow book audit. So we have done the different things we need to do to move forward on that project. So I look forward to working with each and every one of you, and come by and help us in that community garden, because it's right there for the community.
Before you go, Ms. Dunlap, we're going to go to Mr. Hope.
You want me to address the same question? Well, first of all, I don't think the corner store solution is a viable solution for the simple fact that most corner stores are not owned by minorities or blacks. And the things that they're selling us out of the corner stores, they wouldn't eat themselves. Mostly it's just potato chips, beer, and cigarettes. They have no interest in, providing, produce and other types of food. And I don't think that, I think the model that was either one or two things, what the Asians did over there on John Young Parkway, where they created their own supermarket. I don't think that that's something that we can't do. We just have to find the investors to come in and find the location in District 5, and we build our own supermarket. If we don't do anything like that, I think what the Hope Church and their property, what they did with the Walmart neighborhood market over there, I think that would kind of be the second option. I know that Walmart doesn't have the best produce sections, at least some of them don't. But I think one of those two options, leaning more towards, we just, establish a black-owned supermarket in our area. I don't think that that's something that's very hard to do. We just have to sit down and do it.
Very good. Ms. Dunlap, we give you 30 seconds because we're going to wrap up.
So I believe that community gardens are important and they are altruistic. However, it is not realistic because oftentimes they wind up being dried up because people are not tending to them on a consistent basis. So we have to do more than community gardens, and let's also be mindful. Everybody's not a vegetarian, and a lot of people really don't even want to eat vegetables. So we have to make sure that the grocery store that we bring will be one that's not only black-owned, but perhaps just one that is quality that gives us access to the food that we need.
Very good. Let's give all of our candidates a round of applause thus far. We appreciate. So Monica's going to give us a few announcements, and then we are going to give each of the candidates 1 minute to wrap up, closing remarks, and then we will bid you adieu for tonight.
Right. So early voting begins May 13th, and the election is actually May 21st. You got to continue to campaign. You got to continue to walk the streets. You got to continue to talk with your constituents because they're going to be your bosses. The runoff will be June 18th, but early election for that will be June 10th. So keep those dates in mind. And please, 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 not only you show up at the polls, but bring somebody with you. Bring a couple of somebodies with you. Okay, do that. And so at this point, I want to start with Mr. Hope. If you will, give us a 60-second wrap-up, 60, 90-second tops wrap-up. Whatever you want to say, again, that only goes for you, just you.
I like to end this with, like I ended the last forum, it's the public's job or the residents of District 5 to decide who they're going to choose to be their elected official to represent them. It's an important decision, but one thing that you need to keep in mind, that the person that you elect and choose that goes to City Hall, and when those doors are closed, you want to make sure that they're working on your behalf and they're very transparent in what's going on behind those closed doors, and there's a line of communication that they're bringing it back to you to let you know what they can do and what they can't do. Don't let people sell you dreams and sell you promises. I hear that more than anything else out when I'm out canvassing the neighborhoods. The number one thing is, they came around here before and they told us that they were going to do this and they were going to do that, and they didn't get it done. So, I'm a candidate of transparency, honesty, and, integrity. And so, if it can be done, we're going to get it done together, and that would just be my main closing statement. Thank you, Monica.
And we'll just go straight down the line.
Thank you. I'm just gonna start off. Thank you. Very grateful to be here. I'm not necessarily a career politician, and I've been saying that, but I like to say that I'm in good company because everybody up here I've known has done the work. So I'm not trying to sell people on, who's the most, doing the work or who's doing this. I can only speak about myself. I've been doing this work for 8 years with passion, and I've been doing it effectively as possible for a person who's not heavily funded. I think it's very important, like just Mr. Hope just said, when you have somebody, it's not about, there's a reason why the commissioner doesn't have to have a master's degree in finance or in any other thing, because even though business is a big part of it, and even though there are very much aspects of it, the most important part is to choosing somebody who's going to be a civil servant and somebody who's going to be accountable and who's going to be trustworthy for the people. Because you could be the most profound person when it comes to a certain field, but if you're not pushing for our people, you're going to be another person repeating the cycle. So I think it's important when you're choosing somebody, you're not just choosing somebody off of what's the best spiel that they give, but who do you think and trust is going to fight for you, fight for your best interests, and if they won't, who's going to include you in this fight for the change? This is not something to take light. This is not just 7 people running. This is all of our future. We all live in this district, and that's why I've been here before. I will be here after, no matter what happens in this election, because it's important, and we all got to be involved.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Dunlap.
Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for being a committed community. I am constantly concerned about how we're going to move forward as a people and how we're going to move forward as a community. And my goal and my vision for District 5 is to ensure that my leadership that I have extended for the past 20+ years will be able to come to fruition with not only affecting change with affordable housing and economic growth, but also ensuring that we're deeply connected to the community. I believe that the commissioner needs to be someone who can extend beyond, that extends Paramore Plus. We need to be focused on the entirety of the district and ensuring that everyone has equal access to the opportunities available to them through the city. So I look forward to serving this community, continuing to serve this community. This is where I was born, raised, and where I'm raising my daughter, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to continue serving.
Thank you.
I would say it's been a pleasure to be before you this evening. I didn't just show up. I've been doing the work for many, many years. It's simple. It's about integrity. It's about bringing results with representation and including the community. I always say I'm not an information hoarder. I share my information with anybody, and I can work with anybody. Well, what's unique about Lawana Gelser is she's learned and she's implemented and she's found additional funding to close that equity gap. That's important. We can talk about it. I've been the business owner for 40 years, but I decided to do something else. However, what I've learned sitting on all the boards for the city, I worked for the city years ago in their finance department. What we need is somebody who looks at their district and understands where there's economic gaps, where is equity gaps. How do we close them? And Lawana Gelser has been doing that, not in office, but because it needed to be done. So I say this, I've been doing it all along because it's important. That's what civic engagement is all about, and that's who Lawana Gelser is all about, helping my community and giving a voice to the voiceless.
Thank you. Ms. Rose.
I am Shannon Rose, and I'm running for District 5 City Commissioner because, like many in this community, I've been through tragedy and hurt, but I've been an overcomer. When my husband was killed by gun violence, I still remain strong in this community, and keeping this community safe and making this community safer is a top priority for me. I live in the Paramore community, and when I moved my family to District 5, it was because I believed in this community. And as a single mom, I'm raising my son to love this community, cherish this community. And as your next commissioner, you have someone who has your back, who's going to champion, who's going to continue some of the great work that's been done and continue to move further. I'm accessible now. It's not about May 21st and beyond. You can call me at 407-255-7426 right now to talk about your concerns, right now to talk about how can I help you get to the next level. I mentor youth in this community. I'm the CRA Executive Director for the town of Eatonville. I have a master's degree in public administration. So not only do I have the real life experiences and being able to say, I've been through this, how do we make it better? I have the educational experience. I have the work experience. I'm the only person here who's been at the City of Orlando for a long period of time who has the policy, who can work on policy changes. And I ask for your vote, and I humbly ask for your support, Shan Rose, for your next District 5 City Commissioner.
Thank you. Ms. Ellison.
Hello, I want to continue doing what I've been doing, which is getting people qualified, uplifting people, bringing people out of their financial burdens. And also, I want to mention one thing that wasn't mentioned. I will be promoting diversity in all aspects of public life, no matter sexual orientation. That is one of the biggest concerns here in the District 5 that wasn't addressed. That's something that I want to promote as well. I want to uplift my people, continue to bring them out of the financial burdens like I mentioned before, and upstart a lot of upcoming entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm Travaris McCurdy, and I hope tonight I was able to display, highlight, and showcase some of my experience, and someone not just with passion, but someone who actually has a plan to work for you on day one. I ask for your support and your confidence in me on May 21st to serve as your next city commissioner, because I'm someone that's ready, willing, and able, again, to give you the representation that you deserve, someone who knows the district, someone who understands the issue, someone who served in a capacity before with integrity. So all of the qualities that you heard about tonight, I possess them. District 5, this is a very critical moment. This is a very critical election. And I tell people oftentimes that just because you're in critical condition doesn't mean that you can't survive. But in order to survive, you need stability. And that's what I believe I represent. And I'll be honored to serve as your city commissioner for District 5. God bless you.
All right, let's give all of our candidates another round of applause. Let's give my co-host and moderator, Miss Monica May, a round of applause.
And let's give Pastor Pastor McCoy a round of applause.
Bless
Marcus,
you, bless you, bless
it was
you.
a pleasure sitting next to you.
It was a pleasure.
You know what? No, Reggie, do me a favor. Reggie, I'm going to give you the last word. And I'm going to ask you, because as the community constituent for the city of Orlando, you've had a chance to observe all 7 candidates. I'm not going to ask who would you vote for, but just whatever you want to say as the last word, because that's a hell of a job that they're walking into.
So we'll give it to you, and then we'll close with Mr. Marquise, who will give us final words and instructions on how to move forward. Let's thank God for Dr. McGill.
I want to say thank you, Monica, but I don't know. On a serious note, this is critical. All 7 bring much to the table. All 7 I know that I would enjoy working with. And so I say to you, it's in your hands. You can't just go to the polls by yourself. You need to be responsible for at least 5 other folk. Yes. And then those 5 have 5. Because we could elect somebody with less than 1,000 votes in a community where there are over 40,000. We can be the difference. The people in this room tonight can make the decision. If you get 5, and that person gets 5, and that person gets 5. And you need to check. You can't just say it one time. Call them up. Yeah. The day of the election, call them up. When we start the early voting, call them up. And we're praying for each one of you, that God will expand your territory. I've seen growth and maturity in the last 4 years, 8 years. And so we're praying with and for you and your families.
Into the hands of our lead organizer, Mr. McKenzie, to lead us further.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. On behalf of our Executive Director, Desmond Meade, and the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, again, we appreciate Pastor McCoy, Monica May, and all of you guys. We wish each one of you well on your race and encourage you guys to stay involved in the community. And again, we encourage every last one of you guys not to show up to the poll, but show up with multiple people to the polls. And lastly, if you have someone in your family who is formerly incarcerated or impacted by the criminal justice system, we ask you to welcome them to be a part of our organization so we can make sure that they have their rights to vote. Thank you.